Papa. Mama. It is done. Justice has been served. Our family will never be humiliated again. They will never forget us. Never. Amara said beside her parents' grave. Welcome to the Story Nook by Ma, where stories come alive. There was once a village, tucked away between rolling hills and thick forests, where tradition ruled every aspect of life. In this village, wealth was not only measured by land or cattle, it was measured by lineage. A family's reputation was their crown. And for one unfortunate family, that crown had long been tarnished. This was the family of Okoro, his wife Neka, and their only daughter, Amara. Okoro was a hard-working farmer, yet no matter how much he toiled, his crops yielded little. The villagers sneered at him, saying his bloodline was cursed with failure. Neka, his wife, was a gentle woman with kind eyes and hands that never rested. She held her family together despite the endless humiliation. And Amara, their daughter, she was young, hopeful, with dreams of a better life. But those dreams were mocked before they could bloom. The villagers despised them. Children pointed at Amara in the streets, whispering, "There goes the cursed girl, daughter of poverty." Women at the market spat behind Neka, muttering, "Misfortune follows her everywhere." Men laughed at Okoro, saying, "He will die as poor as he was born." Every day, Okoro rose before the cock crowed, carrying his hoe to the fields. He worked from sunrise to sunset, sweat pouring, hands blistering, back aching. Yet his reward was little, barely enough to feed his wife and daughter. But he never stopped trying. One scorching afternoon, as the sun beat mercilessly upon the land, Okoro bent over his crops. Suddenly, from the tall grasses, came the hiss of danger. A snake struck swiftly, its fangs sinking deep into his leg. Okoro cried out, a scream so raw and desperate it echoed through the farmlands. "Help me! Somebody please help me!" Farmers nearby heard him. Villagers in the distance heard him. But no one came. Some turned their backs. Others whispered, "Why should we help him? Misfortune is his portion. Let him die like the cursed man he is." Okoro's cries grew weaker, weaker still, until they stopped. Later that day, Neka and Amara walked toward the farm, carrying a small calabash of water. As they approached, Amara called out with a bright voice, "Papa, we brought you water." There was no answer. When they reached the farm, the sight before them shattered their world. Okoro lay lifeless on the ground, his hoe still clutched in his hand, his eyes frozen in terror. The calabash slipped from Neka's hand and smashed against the earth. She fell to her knees wailing, "Okoro! My husband! Wake up, please wake up." Amara shook her father's body, sobbing, "Papa, please don't leave us. Please, Papa." Their cries tore through the air, but just like before, no villager came. No helping hand. No sympathetic neighbor. Only silence. With trembling arms, mother and daughter lifted his body. Step by step they staggered home, weeping as the villagers peeked from a distance, whispering, "The cursed man is gone." Not one person moved to help them. At home, Neka ran to her relatives. "Please," she begged, "help us bury him. He was your brother, your kin." But they turned her away. Some mocked her, others spat at the ground. "He was nothing but a failure. Your family brings disgrace. Even in death, he is still cursed." Tears blurred Neka's eyes as she returned to Amara. That night, under the pale glow of the moon, mother and daughter dug a shallow grave with their bare hands. Their fingers bled, their bodies ached, but no one came to share their burden. Together, they lowered Okoro into Mother Earth, covering him with dust and sorrow. Amara clung to her mother, sobbing, "Mama, why do they hate us so much? Why won't anyone help us?" Neka, her voice breaking, whispered, "Because they believe we are cursed, my daughter. But remember this, a curse only has power if you believe in it." Yet deep inside, Amara wondered, perhaps they were cursed after all. After the death of Okoro, silence wrapped itself around the small mud hut where Neka and her daughter, Amara, lived. The little home that once carried the sound of Okoro's laughter and evening songs now carried only grief. Each day felt heavier than the last. Neka sat by the doorway most evenings, her wrapper tied loosely around her frail body. Her once bright eyes had grown dim, clouded with sorrow. Amara often sat beside her, small and quiet, watching her mother stare into the distance as though waiting for Okoro to return. "Mama," Amara whispered one night, "when will it ever be all right with us?" Neka pulled her daughter close, pressing her against her chest. Her voice trembled as she replied, "Someday everything will be all right, just keep doing good." The girl buried her face in her mother's wrapper and sobbed. Neka wept silently too, because she knew the truth. She was now both mother and father to her child, yet she had nothing to give. But grief was not the only burden they carried. The villagers, instead of showing kindness, sharpened their tongues with cruelty. To them, Okoro's death was proof of the family's curse. At the stream, when Neka bent down to fetch water, women would turn their backs, whispering loudly so she could hear. "Look at her. Wherever she goes, misfortune follows. If you help her, her curse will enter your home." Children joined in, pointing at Amara and chanting, "Daughter of the cursed one. Daughter of sorrow." Amara clenched her little fists, fighting back tears, but their words cut deeper than any blade. Slowly, Neka's health began to fail. Her cheeks sank, her ribs pushed against her skin, and her legs wobbled when she walked. At night, she coughed until her whole body shook, and Amara sat awake, terrified, holding her hand. "Mama, please don't leave me too," she whispered often. Neka would force a smile, though tears filled her eyes. "I will not leave you, my daughter. Not yet. Not yet." But each day proved otherwise. When their last yam finished, hunger pushed Neka to the market. She wrapped a faded scarf around her head and held Amara's hand tightly as they walked through the crowded stalls. She stopped before a woman selling gari. "Please, sister, give me just a small measure. My child is hungry. I will pay you back after I work in the farms." The woman sneered, folding her arms. "You? Pay me back? I would rather throw my gari into the gutter than sell to you. Go away from my shop. I no day sell to cursed people like you and your cursed daughter." Neka's lips trembled. "Please have mercy. It is for the child." Suddenly, the woman shoved her hard. Neka fell to the ground, her headscarf slipping. Dust clung to her face. "Get away from my stall, witch!" the woman spat. The market roared with laughter. "Look at her, Okoro's widow, crawling like a dog. Misfortune in human form. She will soon die like her husband." Amara rushed to her mother, helping her up. "Leave her alone," she cried through tears. But her small voice was drowned by jeers and clapping. Neka's dignity shattered in that moment. She pulled her daughter close and walked away as fast as her trembling legs would allow, her tears mixing with dust on her face. That night, she lay on her mat, weeping silently. Amara held her tightly, whispering over and over, "Mama, don't cry. I'm here. We still have each other." Neka stroked her daughter's hair and said, "My Amara, if only love could fill your stomach, you would never be hungry." Her voice cracked, and she turned her face away so her daughter would not see the depth of her despair. 3 days later, Neka's strength finally gave way. She could no longer rise from her mat. Her body looked fragile, as though the wind could carry her away. Amara knelt beside her, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Mama, please don't leave me. You are all I have left." Neka's trembling hand cupped her daughter's face. Her eyes, though weak, glowed with love. "Amara, my child, Forgive me. I cannot stay. The world has been cruel to us, but you must not let your heart turn to stone. Promise me. Promise me you will not let bitterness destroy you." Amara shook her head violently, clinging to her mother's hand. "No, Mama. Don't go. I need you. I need you." But her words could not hold back death. With a final breath, Neka's hand slipped from her daughter's cheek, and her body lay still. The hut was filled with silence once more. Amara screamed, her voice echoing into the night. "Mama! Mama! Wake up! Please! Don't leave me like Papa did." But Neka was gone. The girl's sobs shook her tiny body. Alone, with no family and no friend, she was forced to do the unthinkable once again. With her bare hands, she dug another shallow grave beside her father's. Her palms blistered, her nails cracked, but she did not stop. The earth swallowed her mother's body as she wept uncontrollably. Now, behind their little hut, two shallow graves lay side by side. A father and a mother buried without dignity, and a daughter left behind. That night, Amara sat between the graves, her face streaked with tears, her heart hardened by sorrow. She looked up at the moon and whispered through clenched teeth, "You will pay. All of you in this village will pay for this." And though her voice was small, the wind carried her vow into the darkness. After burying her parents in the shallow graves behind the small hut, Amara sat in silence, staring at the two mounds of earth. The wind whispered through the trees, carrying a hollow echo of the life that had been stolen from her. She was alone now. Truly alone. The village that had watched her family suffer without lifting a finger had turned its back on her entirely. Even the few friends she had who had been her friends ran away, fearing she carried the curse of her parents. Amara stayed awake that night, staring at the stars. Her mind was a whirlwind of grief, anger, and confusion. Why did they hate us so much? Why did they let Papa die alone? Why did they push Mama to the ground? Why me? By morning, she knew she could not stay. The village had become a prison of memories, humiliation, and sorrow. With a small bundle of clothes and a pot of water, she quietly left the hut that had once been her home. She did not look back. The road was long and uncertain. Amara walked through forests and fields she had never seen before, each step heavy with hunger and despair. She survived by foraging for wild fruits, roots, and drinking from streams, though she often went to sleep with an empty stomach. Nights were the hardest. The cold crept into her bones, and shadows in the dark seemed to whisper threats. She met strangers along the way, some friendly, others cruel. A farmer once saw her scavenging near his field. "Go away, young lady. Don't touch my crops, or you'll regret it," he shouted, swinging a stick. Amara ran, heart pounding, tears mixing with the dust on her face. At one market town, she tried to sell a few wild berries she had gathered. The villagers laughed. "Who would buy from a daughter of a cursed family?" they jeered. The laughter stung more than hunger, more than the aching in her legs. Days passed. Hunger clawed at her stomach. Fatigue made her feet blister and bleed. She thought about her parents constantly, about how they had loved her and how cruel the world had been to them. Her heart, full of grief, began to twist into something else, something colder. "If they treated us like this, if they let my family die, then they will pay. Someday they will pay." One fateful morning, after walking for hours along a narrow path between farms, Amara stumbled upon an old woman working on her farm. The woman's back bent with age, her hands gnarled like tree roots, yet she moved with care and purpose. Amara hesitated. Hunger and desperation warred with fear. She had learned to distrust strangers, but her stomach and spirit were too weak to care. She approached slowly. "Mama, please," Amara said, bowing slightly. "Can I help you work on your farm? I will do anything. I only ask for some food to eat." The old woman stopped her work and studied her. Her eyes were sharp, but not unkind. "My daughter, come sit with me," she said. "You look tired. Tell me your story." Amara's lips trembled as she sat beside the woman. She told her everything, the way the villagers hated her family, the cruel names, her father's death by snakebite, her mother's humiliation and death, the shallow graves, the loneliness, the hunger, and the rage growing in her heart. The old woman listened quietly, nodding occasionally. Her gaze seemed to pierce Amara's soul. When the story was finished, she spoke softly. "My daughter, I will help you. But know this, there is a task to be done. And if you fail in this task, there will be consequences. Are you ready for that?" Amara, consumed with hunger, grief, and the desire for vengeance, did not ask about the consequences. "Yes. Anything, Mama. I will do anything." The old woman smiled faintly and handed her a small calabash filled with salt. "Cook with this. Sell your food in your village. With it, you will take the fortune and blessings of those who eat your meals. But remember, the salt is endless. It will never finish. And you must follow the rules exactly." Amara's eyes widened. "Mama, will this salt never finish?" The old woman's gaze was steady. "No, my daughter. But you did not ask about the consequences. That is your choice." With a mixture of fear, hope, and rage, Amara clutched the calabash and bowed. "Thank you, Mama. I will do as you say." For hours, she sat in the farm, staring at the old woman as she worked. Every moment was heavy with thought. The wind whispered through the crops, and Amara felt a spark ignite within her. A fire of vengeance, the first real sense of power she had felt since losing her parents. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, she stood, taking a deep breath. Her stomach was empty, her body weak, but her heart had a new purpose. She would return to her village. She would open a food stall. And she would make those who had destroyed her family pay, one meal at a time. Amara looked at the old woman. "I will make them all remember the cruelty they showed my parents. They will pay, Mama. They will all pay." The old woman's eyes glinted knowingly. "Remember, child, the path of vengeance is dangerous. Do not falter, or the consequences will be yours." Amara nodded, hiding the fear that stirred in her chest. She clutched the calabash tightly and began the long walk back to the village that had cast her out. Each step carried the weight of grief, hunger, and the burning desire for justice. By the time she neared the edge of the forest, the sun was setting. The sky was painted in shades of red and gold. Amara stopped for a moment and whispered to the wind. "Papa, Mama, soon, soon, they will all pay for what they did to us. I will not fail you." And with that, the first spark of Amara's vengeance was lit, though she did not yet understand the full price of the path she had chosen.